Hi, it's Jillian, and today I want to talk about Christmas stories of years gone by. These are just stories that I thought were funny, and I hope you enjoy them. How my cookie baking tradition got started. My aunt for many years had been buying some from a local bakery, and they were really good. But my brother went with her one year to help collect them. He found out how much she paid for these cookies, and it was a small amount of cookies, and I'm not saying it wasn't reasonable or whatever, and like I said, they were good. But she was paying like $50 for like a dozen and a half, I think. Super expensive. And he decided that we needed to make cookies that next year, and he did help decorate them that next year. And I just thought that was funny. Like, in the end, like, the ingredients and stuff is about that, but we get a lot more cookies, and I think they taste better, quite frankly. Anyway, I usually have a lot of fun with it. One year, I was going to school and I was talking to a friend over the phone, like, I'm gonna be baking cookies tomorrow. And she was like, ooh, can I come and join in? I don't think she ever really did that with her family. And so she sort of crashed the party, and it sort of became our tradition to have a bake-off together. This year we weren't able to do that due to circumstances, but we normally do. The Christmas paper from hell story. Now, it's a tradition of mine, Robert, and Aunt Peggy's to all help her wrap her Christmas presents. Well, we had went down to her house. This was many years ago. About 10, I want to say. Anyway, she had bought this really pretty full paper, like it was red. And we settled down to start wrapping. And this stuff would not cut. It would not tape. It would not let the name tags or bows stick. Well, she didn't really use like stick-on bows. She uses like the wire wrap. But the wire wrap wouldn't go on there good. Like it would either slip or slide. And then when it came to unwrapping it on Christmas Day, even after we gotten it wrapped, which was like hard to do, like when it came to unwrapping the stuff, it would not come unwrapped. It was the worst stuff ever. Like we had some still left over for the next wrapping, but we got rid of it because it was just so hard to deal with. But we still talk about it fondly because it was hilarious. And it's not like it was cheap paper, and it wasn't like it like came from some off-brand type place. I'm not saying it was Hallmark, but it wasn't like Dollar Tree either. And like the thing about it, that paper was like once you did get wrapped, it was pretty paper. Lord help. The year that my mom broke her ankle. Okay, this happened about 4 years ago, and I kind of lightly touched on it like in a previous video. But anyway, we usually head out of my house towards my aunt's on Christmas Eve, and it had been raining. It wasn't like super cold, so that there wasn't any ice or anything on the deck. But the deck usually got super slippery at that point. And anyway, we were heading out, and we had grabbed all the packages to go over to my aunt's. And Robert, my brother, and I had been doing most of the lifting and stuff. And I had told Mom and everyone else, like, hey, be careful, the deck's super duper slick right now. Hold both rails and still, like, hold on tight. Well, my mom lost her footing and she slipped, and her ankle was all but not crushed. Like, she had to have bolts and stuff put in, and she had stitches and stuff. Anyway, we didn't know that at that point. We just thought, okay, she sprained her ankle. We can still do Christmas like always. And she tried to stand, and that was a no-go. So we called the ambulance, and the paramedics started singing Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer song, and she thought it was funny because we were sort of making that joke too before they even got here. And they took care of her, but Robert and I at that point, we didn't know what the situation was. So my aunt told us to go on to her house with most of the stuff, and we got unpacked and settled in. And sometime around midnight, we finally got an answer. And that next morning, we headed back towards my house because she had broken her ankle, and my aunt's house isn't really, like, handicap friendly. And anyway, we packed up everything that we could find to go to my house to do Christmas here. And we had discussed it. Mom wasn't feeling good. She was still on meds, and to kind of relieve the pain and stuff. And so we had talked about that we were going to do Christmas on the day after Christmas, which we never hardly ever do. We just had a chill day basically on Christmas. And luckily I had the day after Christmas off. And the next day we did Christmas. Now, she was still kind of doped up, but she could at least sit up and stuff. And it was kind of funny, like, she spent most of that recuperating in the living room. Like, after that, when she got back into her bedroom where we had put some of her Christmas presents, because that's where she told us to put them and stuff. And she wasn't getting out too much at that point. Anyway, she was pulling out stuff, and she's like, what's this? Where did this come from? And I'm like, Mom, that's your Christmas present. And she's like, oh, I like it. So apparently she was more doped up than we thought she had been. My fantasy of trees experiences. Okay, a little bit of backstory. I was a Girl Scout for many, many years, and there's something called the fantasy of trees where I live. And I'm sure a bunch of other places has something similar. And it's where they, like, sell these decorated trees for charity. Anyhow, there's, like, all these different events and little ride type things at it. And it's basically like a carnival. That's, like, my best description of it. But there's, like, a lot of decorated trees. It's usually really pretty. I don't think they did it this year. If they did, it was online only. Anyhow, I usually volunteered there because I was like a Girl Scout, and it was like a badge or volunteer hours or whatever. We did a lot of that type of thing. And like most of the time I picked like a craft or whatever to do, and which was fun. But one year I chose to be a, quote, Santa's little helper, unquote. And basically what it was, these little kids could go into this like curtained area where they could shop for stuff for their family. Really neat, cute little idea. It was really decorated and stuff. But the stuff in there was super duper expensive. Like crazy expensive. And like little kids don't understand money. Like you can explain all day like, honey, you can't get your mom, your dad, your grandma, your brother, and whoever else a gift each for $5 freaking. And these parents or grandma or whatever didn't understand how expensive these things were inside this little tinted area. It was not really that much fun. Well, I had been doing a fairly decent job of explaining it to kids, and they'd usually end up with one or two things for whatever little bit of money they brought in with them. But I had one little girl, she was like 4 or 5. She just could not comprehend, and I had pointed her to the like cheapest littlest thing that I had, and it was still too expensive to buy everybody something. But I said you could get, your mom and like have your mom and dad share one, get one for your grandmother, and maybe get something else for your brother, maybe not here. And she's like, no, I want something for everybody, and it has to be different. Like, she was wanting the expensive stuff, and this stuff was like kind of cheaply made anyway. And I eventually just took her out to her grandmother, or the grandmother had checked on her because she had been a while. And I explained, I was like, ma'am, that stuff in there is kind of expensive. She's wanting, to get something for everyone, but she does not have enough money. And the grandma just didn't understand. Eventually the grandmother went in. I guess she didn't believe me, but she went into that tent with her granddaughter or whatever, and she came out fussing about it. She's like, that's awful quality for that outrageous prices. And I was like, I was trying to tell you, but nicely. Why do people not believe other people? I'm sure I have more Christmas stories, but those are the ones that came in mind offhand. I'll make another one eventually, maybe for next year. Anyway, I hope you have a good one. Remember to like, subscribe, and all that other good jazz. And I'll see you next time. Bye.